Hello, my name is Kourafalou, and I will be presenting the program CoastPredict, Observing and Predicting the Global Coastal Ocean, which has been endorsed by the United Nations Decade of Ocean Science. I'm presenting on behalf of my co-authors, Nadia Pinardi and Joaquin Tintoret. The three of us co-chair CoastPredict, and Emma Heslop, who is representing the close affiliation of CoastPredict with GOOS, the Global Ocean Observing System. The overarching goal of CoastPredict is to revolutionize global coastal ocean observing and forecasting. This will be done by redefining the science of observing and predicting, including co-designing the infrastructure needed and offering free and open access to coastal information. A transformational definition under CoastPredict is that of the coastal ocean to include inshore from the estuarine mouths to river catchments affected by salt water and around coastal urban settlements, and to also include offshore from the surf zone to the continental shelf and slope, where waters of continental origins meet open ocean currents. The aims of CoastPredict are to transform the science of observing and predicting the global coastal ocean, to develop an integrated coastal and open ocean observing and modeling system, to provide improved multidisciplinary and extended range predictive capability for the coastal zone to respond to societal needs, and to upgrade the infrastructure for exchange of data with standard protocols. CoastPredict is one of the three programs of GOOS under the Ocean Decade. The other two are Ocean Observing Co-Design and Observing Together. The three programs will work in synergy, integrated through GOOS to address challenges and opportunities under the decade. The CoastPredict high-level objectives are: first, a predicted global coastal ocean; second, the upgrade to a fit-for-purpose oceanographic information infrastructure; and third, to co-design and implement an integrated coastal ocean observing and forecasting system that adheres to best practices and standards, is designed as a global framework, and is implemented locally. Expected outcomes of CoastPredict are integrated knowledge of global coastal ocean from events to climate, design and implementation of an integrated river, estuarine, coastal ocean, open ocean, observing and modeling multidisciplinary system, improved coastal marine forecasting and extended range predictive capabilities for the coastal zone, development of methods for trusted data, information exchange, and interoperability across the value chain, innovative and sustainable applications for coastal solutions and services that directly benefit local populations, including well-being and human health, and increased equitable education and capacity for observing and forecasting in the global coastal ocean. An example of expected accomplishments is to address the challenge of accuracy in coastal forecasting, which is essential for the well-being of coastal communities. An example is the €7 billion project to protect Venice, which relies on coastal forecast accuracy, else it can be useless. This was the case when the system operated under prediction of 1.25 meters sea level rise, but in reality waters rose to 1.38 meters, which inundated Venice. The system engineers declared that errors less than 10 centimeters are needed, and forecast lead time of 2 to 3 days is essential. The CoastPredict new modeling approach has a strong component in improving the urban oceanographic predictions, and thus goes hand in hand with the expanded definition of coastal ocean under CoastPredict to include the waters surrounding urban settlements, the so-called urban ocean depicted here. Coastal cities like Venice, like Miami, where I'm located, and thousands of others, where the largest percentage of the world's population lives, need this comprehensive environmental approach and further integration of coastal predictions with engineering, socioeconomic, and health aspects, both ocean and human health. For instance, predictions of impacts from storm surge around the coastal settlement under CoastPredict will include the resulting inundation, coastal vulnerability metrics, which involve structural and socioeconomic aspects, assessments, and visual risk communication. CoastPredict also has an integrated observing approach, comprehensive and efficient observing systems that will extend from inland to offshore, will be relocatable, will have several sensors and particularly so-called smart sensors, and will be delivering data under an open and free access to users policy. CoastPredict is structured around 6 focus areas where core projects will be developed and applied in 10 world ocean areas. 1, integrated observing and modeling for short-term coastal forecasting and early warnings. 2, Earth system observing and modeling for coastal climate monitoring and downscaling. 3, solutions for integrated coastal management. 4, coastal ocean and human health. 5, international open and free access to coastal information. And 6, equitable coastal ocean capacity. Core projects are being defined for endorsement. These include several sub-projects. 2 core projects from focus areas 1 and 2 have already been submitted for endorsement. CoastPredict has comprehensive governance under the structure that is depicted here: an executive group, focus area group representation, core project representation, has a steering committee, early career ocean professional group and advisory group, and affiliation with several international bodies, especially related to IOC and the Decade, as GOOS, also IOD, the International Ocean Data Exchange, Decade programs, decadal collaborative centers, and Decade communities of practice. Some highlights of activities under the short-term timeline of the last few months. A big activity was to decide core projects. These were compiled from several sub-projects that were submitted and resulted already to the submission of 2 core projects under the January 31st deadline of the Ocean Decade. Other activities were an Ocean Decade satellite event where CoastPredict contributed, the CoastPredict General Assembly, and ongoing activities include to secure funding. The timeline to 2030 has 5 phases and overall a collaborative roadmap that will transform coastal observations, predictions, solutions, and services by the end of the decade in 2030. As I mentioned before, CoastPredict has steering committee. I want to highlight that we have already over 30 countries. We are geographically balanced, but also gender balanced, advisory committee and early career ocean professional group. I will close by saying that CoastPredict will make vital, real, and lasting change. And we would like to invite you to get in touch to start this conversation with CoastPredict about how you can help and what your contribution will enable us to achieve together. Our webpage is coastpredict.org, and you can connect with us through info@coastpredict.org. Thank you.